start that
This
all over.
is Not Information, the podcast, episode 9.
So good, man.
Yes.
Good.
So please check out our resources for all our background information. We're not going to do that. But today we're going to talk about something very interesting. I'm very excited actually to talk about this. I'm gonna let Bernie intro though, because Bernie seems to have the most information.
It's on you, Ben Hanin.
Plus, I don't remember this other dude's name.
Derrick.
Yeah,
Jaxn?
what's his last?
Jaxn.
We just know him as Derrick.
I just know him as Derrick.
First
Because
name
I keep
basis.
messing him. Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna talk about
Sorry,
Kevin
Mr.
and Derrick.
Jackson.
We should just—that's the name of the episode. Kevin and Derrick.
Kevin and Derrick.
Oh,
Kevin
Jaxn.
and Derrick.
Jaxn, like Mortal Kombat. Jax.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jax.
Yeah.
That is
Yo,
what-
you heard the new movie's coming out soon, yeah? Live action, Mortal Kombat.
Oh yes, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Sub-Zero.
I kind of want to watch it.
Scorpion.
Go ahead, Bernie. It's
Oh
up to
yes.
you.
So basically I'm sure a lot of you are already aware of the situation with Derrick. He came out, or was recently known, that he has been cheating on his wife. And the reason why we're pretty much putting him in opposition or with Kevin is that both of them are known as relationship gurus. So what Derrick is to women, Kevin is to men, or at least that's how they've been categorized. Both of them have been put on pedestals in terms of being able to relay information or advice on how to fix or mend or be part of a long-lasting relationship that is fruitful and stuff like that. But with Derrick coming out as a cheater, a lot of his advice is being seen as invalid, because he's been talking a lot about being faithful and what a man should supposed to be doing, while this entire time he's been cheating. Also too, I don't know if y'all seen any other aspects of the video, especially his wife's response to what's going on. That was actually really cringy. I was watching it with my best friend yesterday, or at least reading it. It was very, very cringy. So, but also in terms of Kevin, I know of Kevin. I know of Kevin, but I don't necessarily follow him. I don't really agree with a lot of things that he has proposed. A lot of people feel like he's saying a lot of things that are factual. I beg to differ. But we're gonna actually have a conversation about that. We're gonna have a conversation about these quote unquote relationship gurus, these quote unquote individuals. Okay, thank you, Mom. Who have been pretty much been able to build a platform on social media of being experts in a relationship. So the first conversation that we're gonna have are, what are your personal or our personal reactions to Kevin and Derrick? Have we listened to them before? Come on, y'all.
No. I didn't listen to them before. But my homeboy runs a men's group. And so I know why they exist. I think that since when, I think there's been this whole idea that men are soft, right? Or some men are not, this idea that men don't know how to deal with relationships, or we are not being raised properly, and all this. I mean, there's a bunch of different lines, I think, that lead you to Derrick and Kevin. And I say that because there are lots of these groups popping up, especially during the pandemic. And I've been able to participate in one that I thought was really good. It's called My Brother's Keeper. But in that group, you see these influences of Derrick Jaxn, Kevin Samuels, some people who are taking a hard line towards manhood. This is what a man is. This is what you need to do with the females. They like to use that word a lot, females. And yeah, and then also this idea that we need to be a little bit more empathetic. So yeah, it's like it's become this coin. I don't know how, in manhood, of us trying to reclaim our manhood, which I don't know if we know what that is, but these dudes just came up because the dude Kevin Samuel is wild. But anybody
I'll
else?
chime in here. Yeah, so like I've happened upon Derrick Jaxn's videos before, like on Facebook. Kevin Samuels, not so much, because I only heard about him like just because when he just says something to make fun of a woman, or he flips, the general narrative of like men, quote unquote, men ain't shit or men are trash, and then takes it to the extreme. So usually I try to tune that stuff out because, if you all have listened to this podcast before, I'm not down with people bullying others for the sake of, enlarging or expanding their platform. Yeah, I mean, I'm with the shits and giggles, I'm with the jokes, so, I can't lie. Like a lot of times if somebody is making fun of someone on social media and they deserve it, like they're being jerks, I was raised in a childhood like, if you know how to clown, you know how to crack back, and that's cool, it's all fair. But when it comes to denigrating, especially, for me, I'm a Black man, I love Black women. If you're denigrating the foundation of what we call, Black culture or society, I can't get with that. I can't fully get behind it. I'll watch again, like I'll observe people being messy and all that, but I'm not gonna try to fill your pockets up with my attention and energy. Same with Derrick Jaxn, like when he's sitting in the car and he's dropping jewels. I'm like, I'm obviously, for me, automatically, if anybody's sitting there claiming to be any type of teacher or guru or expert about relationships, that, it's a norm for things to fall apart. I'm going to be skeptical. So I didn't, when the news came out, it's just, so when people were starting to talk about it on social media, I'm like, who are these guys again? Like, which one is it? Because we were doing the I'm like, who? Like, who? It's just some two random dudes. Like, but people listen to him, so yeah.
But his R&B photo, he had an R&B photo too.
like, girl, let me tell you something. Like, 1997.
But the photo, it's photo. Who sent the photo? Bernie, did you say, or Chris, somebody sent that photo in the chat?
Yeah, in the private chat. Yeah. It was like, that was definitely like early 2000s, like neo soul, trying to be
like Genuine. He was like, how you supposed to be a guru?
Yeah, he like, like, I got all the knowledge up here. If you want it, you can come get it.
Look at all this.
Yeah, look at all. Yeah, it's here.
This in tall drinking milk.
It's all
how you know he's shady. But he's shady.
Yeah, like, I thought it was obvious. I mean, like, you're kind of a sleazebag, dude. But
at least Kevin Samuels was getting his Cotton Club on. He looking like Eddie Murphy in Jet Magazine, but I'm sorry, references. She like, Jet Magazine. What the heck? I'm gonna Google this. Yeah, but yeah, he looked like a grifter. He looked like he in it.
Yeah, he hustling, man. It's fine,
Derrick Jaxn looked like a grift, looked like a straight up hustle. Then he go from that, this he goes from this to in his car. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
I think a lot of guys caught that like pretty easily. Like a lot of my male friends were saying, like, man, as soon as I saw this dude, I knew he was up to some. I didn't like that nigga. And I'm just like, oh, okay. But maybe for girls, like, they're just so happy to hear that from a guy. They're just like, yo. So this is just like what most, I guess, women, like how they would perceive his actions to be. But since you guys are actually guys, like, you'd be like, able to discern the, excuse my French, fuck shit.
But do you think he cute?
I mean, here's my guess. Okay, so I do like my man kind of thick. I mean, he's
sexual chocolate. He's sexual chocolate. I mean, no, I ain't gay, but I understand.
Would I let him
you can consider him attractive, dude.
To let me cheat on him? Absolutely not, though.
But he fine. See, this is what I'm saying. I think he fine. If he was just like average dude, talking all this stuff, women would probably listen to him, but they like looking at him too. It's
yeah. He medium. If he was medium ugly, man, he would not have the platform.
He medium.
He big.
Yeah, see, no, I consider myself medium ugly. I'm like, yo, if I said some of the same stuff that he was saying, like, and it was like, oh, like people like, amen, like, yes, he's telling the truth. Like, I know it wouldn't carry as far as like someone that is conventionally like super duper attractive, like that carries a lot, of weight for many people that are, because we're in the social media age now, we need sound bites, we need clips because our attention span is like this, so if it's a good looking dude, you can see he got broad shoulders, he's dark skinned, big chest, he played football, he a big dude. It's like, yeah, like I wouldn't want him around my woman. Like, so like, yeah, it's gonna carry a little bit more than somebody just a regular,
Yeah.
regular dude,
But what he's saying, I feel you, Kristen. What he's saying, I like some of the stuff that he was saying. I'm not taking away from that. I'm just saying it's wrapped in a nice package.
No, that you're absolutely. Oh, go ahead, Bernie. Do you want to say something?
Are you muted? Oh,
Oh,
okay.
No, I was just gonna say you can go.
No, you're absolutely right, Paul. I feel like even though he is a person, is complete garbage. Like at this point, what he says is not invalid. So like these are good. Like these are pieces of good advice, and I do think that guys should be taking notes on what he's saying. But I'm not saying that he. First of all, this dude has like narcissistic personality disorder. So like he's saying the right things, but it's for like the wrong purpose. It's to basically gain like, attention and to like gain a following and et cetera, et cetera. So I feel like what we should do is kind of remove him from like the concepts that he's spewing. And like Marie said, I think that because these are random dudes like Kevin and Derrick, I wouldn't put all of my trust into everything they say because they're not licensed therapists. They're not licensed marriage counselors. They don't have a degree in psychology or like any type of, education in like how relationships should work. So they may have good advice, but do they actually know the ins and outs of a successful relationship? I don't know because I don't know what your credibility is. So,
Right.
that's, yeah.
Right. I mean, let's forget the bullet points because we are all over the place now. But
I was about to
but
go up to be like, yeah, what are we on this?
we're technically 1 and 3 because we are talking about like how do we interact with. Sorry, that's my brother in the
What up, bro?
water.
Hey, Mr. Benjamin.
Alonzi.
I'm weak. But I think what you're saying, Kristen, is accurate. Like I agree. I feel like. Wait, can you hear the background I'm
You okay? Keep going.
good? Okay, good. I
You
think that
want to
like
yell at him.
right.
As you should.
No, I agree with what Kristen is saying. I think that the thing that I have an issue with the way in which the guys that I've seen who are dismissing Derrick or the things that he said because he's a terrible person. It's like, yes, he's a terrible person, but the things that he's had advocated or what he perceived to be advocating for and what he said before are still valid. It's women are still affected by it. Like a lot of things that Derrick had said that I agree with, right? And I think that that's just like a normal reaction of like wanting to be in a fruitful relationship. Like he said things that I think not only like some people could consider him hot, but I feel like he validated women in a way that they felt like they were being invalidated in their relationships or other people. And I think the same thing is happening for Kevin, while men are looking at Kevin as like this relationship guru because he's saying things in a way that they feel like it's accurate, it's true, and whatnot. And I think that, I mean, I don't know, I'm not looking at either of them as particularly hot, but I know I could see Derrick being deemed hotter than Kevin. But I think that Kevin, based on the things that I've heard from him, I don't know, some of the things that he puts together to me personally is problematic, but could be things that other men have already been thinking about. Like, for example, I don't know what the situation was, but like the idea that there was a woman who was calling him and she had like 2 kids already and she was like in like about 30 or mid 30, and she was like, oh, like I want to save it, right? Like I want to, no longer have like sex as soon as I get into a relationship. And his remark on that of like, I don't, it's not necessarily saying that like she's used or whatever, but it's kind of like because you already given up twice or how many other times, like you having this expectation now seems stupid. And to me, I had a problem with that because the thing that in that whole conversation he lacked was nuance or change, or like people can, you know, realize that they have made a mistake and want to change that mistake. Maybe she realized that the mistake that she's been making in her past relationships were having sexual encounters way too early without really, you know, thinking about being in this relationship, what it actually means without the sexual gratification. So maybe like for her, it was like, you know, I want a good man, but I want somebody who is not going to try to have sex so fast or something like that. And he didn't even take that into consideration. It was, you already have 2 kids, so your thing is meaningless. And that to me was really problematic. And but like a lot of guys, for example, will kind of fall into that understanding and be like, I agree. So the whole thing that I'm trying to say is that I feel like a lot of people who are listening to these types of individuals are not, one, empathetic. They're not necessarily looking at the argument as a whole from the other side as well, or nor are they like really looking at it in terms of nuances. And when you don't do that, you end up falling into this trap where you put this one individual on a high pedestal, kind of similar to what we were talking about. I forgot, like third or second episode of ours, where we were talking about, like, you know, putting people on a pedestal. We end up putting these people on a pedestal who seem to be saying the same things that we're thinking of, but that doesn't allow us to critique that, if that making sense. Like we're not like, people are just listening and are not necessarily critiquing. And also, just to go on like with Derrick, I feel like when he first started out, he wasn't what he, well, obviously he's been cheating apparently this whole time, but when he first started out, he didn't give me those like quote unquote like curious vibes, not because he's hot, but like just, I just felt like he was saying things during the time that I felt like a lot of people weren't necessarily hearing. And I think that he was always in the car, like it was always, you know, him just like, oh, I see this video, let me like comment on it. And I think because of that, he gained popularity incrementally, and then he became the image that you all were like joking about just now with the chat. But yeah, I feel like in the beginning I didn't have any red flags of him because I feel like he was accurate. He was on his R&B, Paul.
That's why he was in the
Maybe,
car.
maybe.
In the car, he can't have his wife
You
hearing him
first.
say all that stuff.
I had an epiphany before I go and cheat. Let me tell y'all, it should be before cheating. No, so there was an art. I was trying to
It is
get the
clear.
thing. There's this article. It talks about the myth of men that can help you find a man. And I think that for me, that's where if we think about, you know, like the Derrick situation in particular, he was saying what women want to hear from a man, but he is not the man that he's not going to help a woman find a man. He's going to help you find him. That's how I feel about it. I feel like he was saying it to get more girls. Sometimes guys do this. This is like classic pimp. You know what I'm saying? He's doing classic pimping right now. He's like, I'm gonna tell you what you want to hear. I'm gonna make it sound good. I look good. I know I got. And in the end, he's like your friend that actually want to get with you. So he's saying all these things, and like I said, I'm not discounting what he said because I think it's very valid. And if and maybe people thought, well, because he's married, you know, and he's talking about this certainly from a religious standpoint, so people connect with that. But there are like people like this, particularly preachers, some, not all, some, who do this. They present themselves as this elevated man. I'm gonna help you find, because Kevin Samuels used this term, high value man, and Kevin Samuels actually engages with people more, like on Instagram Live, like he'd be having these conversations. So he's way like on a whole nother level, his confidence, because I was like, I don't know how you can be so disrespect, and people take the disrespect. But like with Derrick, I feel like he was using it to like you were saying, like his intentions were not right. And that's what's messed up about it, because he's saying some good stuff, but his intentions was to get more
Hey, that
girls.
article that you sent, the last sentence was, you know, I mean, it's it sums it up. The larger goal for them is just public adoration. So for many people, I've talked about this in some other chats, in terms of like, even in the world of podcasting, you got people that are in activism. They're presenting a persona or a facade to the public that completely is like in opposition of like their real life. You see, and again, like you just touched on with religion too. It's like, yeah, you got these mega church people, Joel Osteen, Bishop Eddie Long, Creflo $8, how you living in front of the camera and when everybody's watching you passing around a collection plate is completely antithetical to like what you do when you think nobody's watching, and it sucks because you got a lot of people, that are propping up Kevin Samuels and Derrick Jaxn because they need to have that validation of, everybody makes those mistakes. And then, we can get into the larger issue of like monogamy and non-monogamy, non-monogamous relationships, what it means to actually cheat, because the definition of cheating for some people is like just looking at somebody, the wrong way, or like emotionally cheating is I've seen this discussion before in like men's forums. I lurk on some of those, like Black fathers or Black husbands, and something like this. Like, which one would you accept more, like emotional cheating versus like the actual act of physical cheating, like, physical contact? And some guys was like, yo, like, I've been married, multiple times. It's the emotional aspect that would get me, like, because some people can forgive their woman being unfaithful to them if they're in a committed relationship, but like having that connection with them, with another person that they thought was reserved to them is unforgivable. And then you have some other people like, I can't do it. What's that?
Emotional cheating. That's a new one for me.
Yeah, well, you've heard of the term like work bae or work boo. Women, they come home and they're like saying, oh, well, I have somebody to vent to. They're my sounding board at work, but I come home to you, you're my real husband, but my work husband, da, 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 da. It's like, for some people, that's borderline okay. But for some people, that's like, no, like, that's the type of stuff that leads to infidelity and other sticky situations. So I think, with Derrick Jaxn, coming out with
work husband. Yeah, work husband.
Yeah,
work.
I mean, hey,
I'm selfish. I'm not into that. Like, if you into that, that's where I feel like Derrick, if he would have just been like, you know what, I'm a former cheater, but this is what I come up with. I think people would have respected him more. And he could have.
He can't use the word former because when he was doing all that, the confession. So for me, my analysis was how he holding his wife's hand. I'm like, yo, he's still in the middle of the shit. He's still.
He did not look comfortable.
Like he's holding on.
Jesus.
Like he was. Like somebody put the caption like, yo, baby, like we rehearsed, like come on.
Yeah, do what we practice.
Like, don't mess up the bag, like we practice. Come on, oh my gosh.
Arm, you see this flex.
I know he flexing. That tricep was popping. He was like,
But I know you like him, Chris. I'm sorry, Chris. I don't want to talk about your people. I'm joking.
But I think
jokes.
I know that.
No, but all jokes aside, though, for real, like some people would say, okay, when you have a committed relationship, a quote unquote committed relationship, what does it mean to actually be fully committed to somebody? Because the institution of marriage for many people is completely opposite, or is completely in opposition to, like that last line, like just trying to get public adoration. Like some people, for example, like in olden times, like from what I've heard about, the generation before us, or like a few grandparents, great grandparents, like what is for us is for only us. We're not going to be out on Front Street airing out all our dirty laundry. Like if I knew that like so and so has another family on the other side of town, that's only between us. We're going to keep it in house because we're committed to each other through thick and thin, sickness and health, till death do us part. But I think one of the angles that Kevin Samuels takes, and some other guys too, like the men's rights activist type people. It's like, well, now men have to reclaim or have to keep their position, or else they will be placed out of society, or they'll be deemed obsolete. You have women that are just starting up families without men, and that's what's going to crumble society. That's what's going to destroy what we know is like civilization. And I'm not going to say I agree with like that type of like thinking, but I get where some people, I mean, you can compare it to, for example, when we talk about social justice, when people are trying to enact justice, it feels like injustice to people that have been used to privilege or used to the status quo benefiting them. So for men, for example, like, older guys that have like 4 or 5 wives or 4 or 5 like baby moms, and nobody says anything about them being sluts or hoes or anything like that. It's just normalized that. Or like, even for me as a young man, like one of the measures of quote unquote manhood is how many sexual partners you can try to get or try to have. But if a woman does the same thing, I don't even have to say it. We already know, right? And then that carries over, into, past high school, past universities, into what we talked about in a few episodes before, like the dating scene. Like this man looks attractive, conventionally attractive. He seems like a high value man. So it is going to be assumed that he is going to have multiple partners. It's going, or he's a celebrity, for example, like all these stories coming up about, one case that's popular now, like Deshaun Watson, he's the quarterback of the Houston Texans. He's a hometown kid, and stuff is coming out about like sexual assault allegations. But the people that are defending him are saying, okay, well, this guy's he's a high value man. He's young, good looking black man. There's no reason why he should have to fill in the blank with all these women. He can have all these women. That's what the prevailing assumption is. And I'll be frank, I know men that talk about that and they take advantage of that. That's why I think a lot of the stuff that Jaxn or Samuel says, it resonates with even some of the men. You'll see it in the comments. It's like, yeah, they know, like, I got it. Like I can manipulate, I can take advantage of women because of the fact society is geared towards people that are like me. I'm an alpha male. I'm type A, I'm the HNIC. So that means I'm going to get what's coming to me. And if I don't, that's injustice, because it's not supposed to be that way. It's not the natural order of things. I slipped up a couple times. That's okay, because, everybody slips up, but the natural order of things, yeah, I'm allowed that leeway to mess up, but if it was his wife, or if it was like some prominent female, she's getting excoriated. She's getting raked over the coals, like, oh, she's just, a Jezebel, like nasty woman. She got the nasty woman disease, That's my color
inequity, man. Be in a different type of relationship. I think Black people need to get into different types of relationships.
Mm.
And
so I mean that goes into like when we talk about non-monogamy, like because
in Japan,
some people would say
they're not tripping on that. Like it's like, and just speaking, like I want to be in a relationship, monogamous relationship. That's my choice, and I found somebody who's agreed to that. But there are people here, like there's my dude, he's from Cameroon maybe or something. They have multiple wives. He grew up in a house full of multiple, like it's like if you want to do that, and that's where I think,
if
like,
you're a consenting adult,
like you want to be a Mormon, what I'm saying, have those multiple then you should say that. And that's where I feel like if Derrick Jaxn came out and was like, yo, I was cheating, but now I'm here, I'm in this relationship, that's like, or like Kevin Samuels, he like, it's like this inequity, like you got to push someone down in a relationship. I don't like that part of it.
Well,
like
here, I want to ask y'all this, Kristen and Bernie. How many, and this is for the listeners too, is there a such thing as a 50-50 relationship? Can it actually be attained? Do you believe that there's a relationship where you can split everything completely down the middle when it comes to that power dynamic?
I mean, I think people try to obtain that 50-50 as much as they can. And I don't see it as like constant 50-50.
Yeah.
Like we're always like in the middle doing like our part every single time. But sometimes it goes 40-60. And then maybe someone's having a hard time. So then the other one pulls more of the weight. But then let's say like you got hurt on the job. So I have to take more of the responsibilities while you're getting better. It's more like a teeter-totter and give and take to me than per se just like a constant 50-50. And I was actually talking to Bert about this, but on one of the clubhouse rooms I was in, which was titled like, "Do you support polygamy?" Um, which is a play on words, obviously. And
Got it right away. Oh, nigga me. Let's go.
oh, polygamy. And like basically they're asking, like, do you support like, polygamy? And the guys on there were just like, well, it's cool because like, you know, like they were asking questions like, do you think it's okay to give a woman a child without financial aid or anything like that? And they're just like, well, finances isn't the only thing that supports a relationship. And I was just like, okay, but love isn't going to pay the bills, and love isn't going to put these kids through college. Love is also not going to pay for their food. And so it's like, if you have the means to raise all of these kids, and these consenting women are okay with giving you kids, then that is fine. That would be polygamy. See, polygamy is when you actually have the financial means to provide for your kid, but you also have consenting adults who wish to participate in this type of relationship. Polygamy, quote unquote, is literally you giving women these kids and sometimes lying that you want to be in a monogamous relationship with them, but then doing it with other women and not raising the kids. And that to me is foul. So
I thought it was a positive thing. Why we gotta make it negative? We gotta make that a positive. We gotta flip that around.
you're not taking care of the kids, Paul. You're
That's
not,
like, oh, it's oh, it's
like
not like
or
pro.
Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
eat love, man.
oh,
No,
like
I mean, hey, look, man, marriage is a contract. That's what I said.
It is a contract, man. So I mean, y'all ain't been married. Wait, Kristen, Bernie, y'all ain't been married yet, right?
Not physically, no. No, I'm kidding, no.
We elevate to a higher consciousness.
Spiritually, she's like, she got somebody in mind. She like, I got like 5 husbands in my mind. No, but so here's the thing. I'm gonna reveal, this might be TMI, whatever. I mean, maybe people like, I think marriage in and of itself is overrated when it comes to romantic love. I think it has evolved, or many people have got it twisted. When we talk about a relationship, a relationship, a standard or conventional relationship between 2 consenting adults, that should be the foundation, like love, trust, and understanding, all that stuff, right? Respect, right? But once you get married, like Kristen was saying, like, yeah, I'm entering a social, a socially bound contract. It's legally bound, but it's also socially bound because, if you followed any like historical figure, like notable historical figure that made any progress in business, you get married so you can show that you are an upstanding member of the community. If you're just walking around single and stuff, that means you might be up to no good, or you're a loose cannon. You're not going to be someone that's looked upon as someone who could be a reliable or trustworthy leader of people. So you get married to give yourself the artifices of like, stability, of level-headedness, of respectability. For me, I always, like as I've gotten older, I'm like, man, fuck your respectability politics, really. Like, and I have my reason. I don't want to get in a rant about it, but for me, like, marriage is a social contract that if you breach that contract, then all bets are off. But you have to be explicit. It's not just implicit, because a lot of times, like you said, Kristen, like a lot of people don't talk about what they expect to come from that marriage. They think, for example, like having a kid and getting married is going to fix all the problems that are underlying the relationship. And it, like, the numbers do not lie, 55% divorce rate, or people, flaming out before the first child becomes like a 3-year-old or whatever, it doesn't, it doesn't lie. So I think for many people, And I think this is the appeal of somebody like a Kevin Samuels, where he's super duper frank and he's just like, yo, like he's just talking shit. He's mad yuck mouth with it, you know. Some people appreciate the candor and the frankness. Like, yeah, like you got to establish boundaries. You got to establish parameters. You have to hold yourself in high regard in order for any relationship to be sustainable, you know, long-term, short-term, or whatever. Whether it be polygamous or monogamous, you know, if you don't like yourself, then you're gonna bring that negative energy into a situation, and the contract is gonna be on shaky ground anyway, whether it's business or if it's a marriage or if it's both, you know. So I try in my own life, you know, with my wife and any of the girlfriends that I've had in the past, I try to be super duper honest up front, you know, like this is what I expect, and if you can't meet those expectations, you know, that seesaw, right? Sometimes the power dynamic is going to be 65-35 because I'm pushing or I'm trying to give up something so I can get something down the line, you know. And it requires a lot of patience, which I've been working on. Like I used to be very impatient when it came to my relationships when I was like y'all age. Like I was just like, do this, like quick. But now I'm like, yeah, you know, if you want something to work, you know, marriage, again, like a contract, you have to put work into it. But it's not like you put work in on the front end and then it just blossoms and it's like a garden. You got to tend to the shit. If you don't, then the weeds overtake it and it's useless or it's more trouble than it's worth. So a lot of people, I think, are afraid to have those honest conversations at the beginning, because it's very difficult. It's like combating like white supremacy, man. Like when we talk about like, how do we get this work done, or how do we get, you know, any progress, you know, enacted? We got to have a conversation first about like, who's going to give up what? Who's going to sacrifice something? Because if you ain't willing to sacrifice or, you know, shed some blood, sweat, and tears for something to work, shit ain't going to work. You know, like it's pretty simple, but a lot of people like to fool themselves. They like to lie to themselves. I'm not saying that I'm not guilty of that. You know, I've been guilty of it. I'm like, yeah, I can. Maybe it's gonna work. You know, if I put a ring on it, if I just tell her that I'll lie about it. But then the lie, you know, it always comes out. You know, it falls apart. So yeah, that's all
So
I had
as
to say.
single people, what do you guys feel?
What y'all? Yeah, single. Oh, the single ladies.
Relationship gurus? Are y'all listening to these gurus?
Yeah.
Are they working for you?
No. No.
Yeah, but yeah, episode like,
oh gosh, she was like,
no.
Like, oh, never. It's okay.
Oh yeah, we were supposed to keep updated on like Bernie's like dating online and stuff. Oh, you just kind of like,
Yo,
Kristen, shut up. Kristen, shut up. Shut up. Okay.
She loves me more than she loves anybody else. Just gonna put that out there. She loves me.
Yes, I do. But not saying nothing. That night, better not say nothing.
I seen the Instagram photos, so I don't know what y'all talking about.
Hey, what?
We went. What were you gonna talk about? You were gonna talk about when we met up
out in the middle of the street in your jeans. I seen you.
Oh dear.
Hey, y'all were hunting. Y'all were hunting.
She was out there like, I'm out here.
No,
I saw something too. I was like, oh, y'all were hunting. Oh yeah. I saw, y'all were hunting.
No, that was Kristen. Kristen came out with the belly, and I was like, she came to snap. I was like, yeah, let me just put on a sweater because it's type chilly. And she was like, nah.
Play. Not for play.
Some Korean dudes at the restaurant.
Shut up.
See, Kristen got all that because she got the multiple languages. She got them experiences. That's your guru right there, Bernie. That's the guru.
Yeah, come here, yeah. Come here.
You get you with a few of those phrases, you'll be.
That's funny because the guru got me rejected, but it's all right.
Wait, who? Oh no, damn that. Nah, he was just a jerk. That's not.
See, she was saving you.
But he rejected. That's called experience, man.
Experience. Yo, you need rejection, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
like,
gotta have
I got
rejection.
rejected a
Yo, the
lot.
path to success is littered with
Failure.
failures.
Yeah.
Yes, failures.
I also wasn't like completely serious. I think he misinterpreted what I was saying because I wasn't trying to hook up with him. But he got nervous and he was like, ah, and I was like, relax. It was that night was a lot in
Did
a
you hit him
great
with the
way.
relax? You hit him with relax.
Well, he walked away before I could speak. But I was like, I'm just gonna eat this chicken. I don't really care. I mean, you got like three.
You need to hear more about this.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
got
I know,
you. We got
y'all.
you.
I'm like, I'm listening.
It's a lot. It's a lot that happened. No, but to go back to the topic, I think I forgot what the original question was. Like for me
No,
as a single
relationship, the
person,
last one. How should we
right?
analyze, interact?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who's single, and haven't been in a like a fruitful, meaningful relationship so far, I think that for me, the way that I will be navigating dating, at least like especially on the first date, is like making my intentions clear. And saying this is what I expect, and hearing the person and kind of holding them accountable to that. Because I know, because sometimes like people lie, even on the first date. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, I want this," especially like monogamous relationship.
that's my county, by the way. Okay.
Montgomery.
I was
Oh,
born in Montgomery. I'm monogamous. That's how we roll in Montgomery in the gun.
That's where, see, like, this is the thing, like, this whole ideal, this rush to relationship, right? I feel like that's where the relationship gurus take advantage. Everybody's rushing to a relationship. I don't know. I mean, I know we had talked about this before, and you was like, well, I'm not here for playing. I have goals. I want to do this.
Mhm.
But then, like, yeah, I don't know how you do it to the point, like, for me, like, I want to say sold my royal oats, you know what I'm saying? But I was out there kicking it. That's a better farm. I kicked it till I was 24, 23. Like,
Jeffrey Jeffrey.
you know, like I was out there just hanging out with folks, like learning about myself, people. I see your face. I see you, Bernie. And what I'm saying is I feel like, especially when you talk about Kevin Samuels, he's been divorced twice and stuff like that. Maybe he would have better advice if he would have chilled first, not just jump to marriage. I don't feel like people should jump to marriage. Like,
Oh yeah.
I had this girl, man. She wanted to, like, she was older than me. I was like 22. She was maybe like 26 or 27. She was ready to get married. And she made it very clear. And it just turned me off. I was like, oh, I just met you, like, chill. Like, I'm not there yet. But it is about honesty, right? But she was angry with me. Like, she bought me all this stuff. And then we broke up and she came back and like took it all back. And I was like, that's cool. You can have it. But I was like, I already said that I wasn't there. But you like me, you still want to get involved, you still want to do all these things to try to rope me in. And I was just like, yo, like, I don't know, Bernie, I think you should have some fun.
I should have some what?
I think you should have fun.
Oh, have some fun.
Yeah,
well, that's the thing, because the type of fun that I see a lot of guys I've been talking to is not the kind of fun that I want to have, especially with somebody that I'm not in a committed relationship. And
you should have your fun.
Yeah. And I think for me, I could have I think I definitely understand like the idea of like, not rushing into a relationship. That's why for me, like dating is really important. Because for me, dating is like really try to get to know the person as best as you could, but also like in different ways. So like you go out, but you also like talk about your school. Like it's just like a whole variety of things that encompasses dating. And I think that for me, the only reason why I think about sex a lot is because that is one of the expectations that a lot of guys who I have been like going on dates with want, like either on the first date or in the second date or in the third date. And for me, yeah, right. And for me, like, I don't want to do that with somebody that I don't even feel comfortable with. And I think that upsets a lot of guys. And I think that's why like something what Kevin Samuels said kind of turned me off, even though I don't have kids. It's just that if I have autonomy over my body and I get to decide who I want to let enter. And so if I don't feel comfortable with you entering me in any sort of way, I shouldn't have to stay in a relationship with you, or I shouldn't have to like, try to appease you or whatever. And the reason why I say that is that the reason why I think that a lot of guys would lie, like if I were to bring up this expectation and saying like, I hope you're not expecting me to have sex with you anytime soon until I get comfortable with you, is that they would say, I got you, I understand. But then later on down the line, they would, nag or beg or try to do something in order to be like, I done this for you, or when are we gonna do it? Aren't you comfortable yet? And like low key, well, I don't think he's ever gonna watch it, so I'm not gonna say nothing just in case he does. But like Christian, the guy that we met, he kind of gave me that vibe. Remember the one who he gave me that vibe where he was like, oh yeah, like let me talk to y'all, like be chill, the cool street guys, like yeah, like I make music and da da da, and he just gave me that vibe where it's like, I'm listening to you, I hear you, I'm gonna be the ladies' man, da da da, but like with the expectation that because I've done this, you give me this sort of sexual gratification afterwards. And for me, like the same way you said we shouldn't rush into relationship, we shouldn't rush into having sex. And I think a lot of times like that happens a lot. It happens a lot where people rush into sex, and I believe that sex can be spiritual, like you share energies with each other. There's a lot that goes into it. Even if you're like, oh, I'm just fuck buddies, you end up, getting attachment, emotional attachment to each other. You create these other expectations that weren't set out before. Bless you. Like there's a lot of things that happen, and I don't want to do that. That's why for me, I have these expectations and I try to go not necessarily in order and rigid, because I do understand that like things could happen, but if I'm dating somebody, I'm trying to make sure that they understand that we got to really know each other, get comfortable with each other, and be in agreement, and truly be in agreement with each other before we even think about if we're going to be quote unquote boyfriend and girlfriends, or even think about marriage. Because I feel a lot of people don't have conversations and honest conversations, kind of similar to what you're saying, like they're kind of afraid of that. But I also think that they're afraid of losing somebody, whether because they are afraid of being lonely, or they're afraid of losing this one person who could have been their sex partner or something like that. I don't know. I don't mean to talk in circles, but
these
like
dudes don't know. Like if a girl, you kind of know. I mean, you might be surprised every once in a while, but if you come across a nice girl and she look like she loose, or like I won't say loose, but she out there, you know what I'm saying, doing her thing, getting busy with, she active. There you go, active.
Part of the game, though, man.
But if you
That's part
see
of
a
the
girl
challenge.
and she, like, yeah, maybe I don't know. Because
if you don't think, okay, I look at this like an athletic perspective too. It's a challenge, man. Like
right, but it's gonna take you like 3 months.
Get her, like,
but it's gonna take you 3 months.
Yeah, so you put that in your calendar. You got
no, that's what I was gonna say. Like they have this time, like they're like, oh, I mean, but they will wait like for that only purpose, and staying in that relation. Like I feel like they were like, oh, like she's worth the wait, but they won't stay in the relationship afterwards, or they would start mistreating you. And I'm saying this in terms of like how I see other people in their relationship.
For 6 months, that's a long time. You mean I like you? Dudes don't like you. And what kind of dudes?
You'd be surprised.
6 months with somebody and they don't like you?
Because sometimes
those are the people that don't like themselves.
Right. Or they have other people. They have other people that they're
they got multiple.
With,
they got multiple pokers in the fire.
Right. So it's like if I don't give them sex, for example, they're like, okay, cool, we could chat. You like anime, I like anime. We could talk about anime until you're ready to have sex with me. I have sex with all these other girls.
That's not a relationship.
Situationship.
Yeah, that's a situation.
But that's the thing is like, if I'm in that kind of relationship, God forbid, knock on wood, if I'm in that relationship, I may perceiving this as a relationship because the way that we've like interacted with each other, because you won't know that the person is cheating on you unless something came out in the wind, or they were like, hey, yo, I'm about to have sex with this other girl. You cool? Like if they're not gonna do that, right? So they could be doing all of that to the side behind you, and you as the person involved be thinking, oh, this person really likes me. They actually think, we could foster something, and then you do with them, and then all this stuff comes out, all these things you learn that you didn't know before, and you hurt. And that's the thing. I don't want to go through that. I see so many people go through that. I see people older than me go through that. I see people younger than me going through that. And it's just like, it's annoying. And I think the whole conversation about monogamy, I know it's kind of relevant, but not relevant. I remember hearing this conversation about, I forgot who, and I could try to find it for you all. But they were saying how like women push monogamy on men and how men should be allowed to have multiple sex partners because of this idea that, especially in a marriage, because that's what the conversation was, but in a marriage, a lot of women don't give the amount of sex that men want. And so because of that, they should be allowed to have mistresses to fill up what the wife lacks. And this is the same kind of concept that's happening in relationships. And it's so weird because it's kind of similar to what Kristen was saying, because I agree of, like, it's teeter totter, like the effort, sometimes, like,
got multiple wives though.
Yo, who would want to be, maybe I'm speaking for myself, but I don't want to deal with like 3 women like all at once. That's a lot. That's a lot of emotion. A lot
Sister wives.
I don't even want to.
Here,
Yes,
I heard.
but that's just me.
When you say that, who wants to deal with multiple partners like that? So some people would say now, because of the institution of marriage has evolved into something where the partner, the people who are partnered in marriage, whether it's it's a same-sex marriage or it's opposite sex marriage, that person in the marriage is supposed to be the other everything, like the best friend, the confidant, the emotional support, financial support, all that. But in olden times, that was not the case. You have people that were getting married. It's like, I don't even know this person. We got married, and my friends are my friends. The people that I actually share like spiritual energy with, the people that I share, my hobbies with, completely in a different realm of experience. And like this person that I come home to and is sharing a meal with me. And that's, I think, that's another big conversation where, because my views on marriage is like, yeah, like a lot of people, when we talk about emotion, going back to that term, emotional cheating, for example, like you see it on social media all the time, like dudes talking about, like, yeah, I just want to go out hang out with the fellas, like without my girl or without my wife or my girlfriend or whatever. And some people say, well, why can't you bring your girl to da 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 da? It's like, because I was a whole person before I met you. I want to continue being a whole person throughout the relationship, and in the event of the end of the relationship, I still want to be a complete person. Because if you develop that codependent relationship where I can't do anything or I cannot be a full person without that partner in my marriage or relationship, then that's where resentment comes in. That's where I've seen it. Some dudes, they're saying, I really resent the fact that I cannot be a person without, or I don't have an identity outside of my marriage. You see it with women too. I mean, I can only speak from a man's perspective, but I've seen it with women who say, well, I cannot swallow the fact that I am only so-and-so's wife or so-and-so's girlfriend or so-and-so's mom even. I want to be a person outside of that because that's what I used to be. And that makes me feel fulfilled. And then that's a string that you pull. It's a slippery slope. Like I want to be, I want to, and to be a total person, to experience the totality of a person, that means that you have to be able to have that freedom to go outside and share time and energy with friends or associates or coworkers. Even that's, we were talking about the work husband or work spouse or whatever. It's like, yeah, here in Japan, you see it all the time. Like, I hear about it, like Bernie was just mentioning, like it's the quiet part that's like pretty much standard. Is like many Japanese husbands, it's not frowned upon that they're going out and to like the cabaret clubs, the girls bar, and drinking and smoking and doing all type of stuff, the hostess clubs and all that, because once they got married, they have like 1.2 kids or whatever. Ain't no sex going on, so they go outside of marriage to get that part of their life fulfilled, or to just have friends. Their friends are like completely separate from the family. Like for me, I grew up in the South. Like, yeah, like if you friends with me, you real friends with me, you're probably gonna meet my family. You're probably gonna break bread with me. So that's where sometimes there's entanglements and trouble happens there. But like that's what we call family. Is like like your boys, your friends, are like sometimes more close to you than your blood family. But here in Japan, I've seen, I've heard people talk about it. I've seen people talk about it, where they're like, no, like marriage is completely separate from like romance or like affection, public affection and all that stuff. You know, I'm American, you know, I'm from the South again, like that's completely foreign, like not liking your wife, like, or with the coronavirus happening, you know, pandemic happening, panna cotta, you know, like some older men, they're like, you know, I can't wait to get back to work because I don't want to be around my partner because I don't like her. It's like, what? Like, or I don't want to be at home because, you know, I don't really like being around this person because we're just married. Like marriage is just like we said before, just a social contract where we're fulfilling social norms, you know, that are put upon us. Like we didn't make these rules, we're just following them. So
yeah, can you
you know.
imagine?
Yeah,
Not me and married to someone for like, yeah, not like.
I mean, you see it in America too, where, you know, like people,
Oh, yeah.
they wait until their kids, like, you know, graduate high school, graduate college, and they're like, yo, man, I'm done with your ass. Like, I didn't like your ass since like, you know, 15 years ago when you did something that I didn't like and we never resolved it like that. You know, I have plenty of friends like that. Hell, like my parents were probably like, well, my parents didn't wait to get divorced. They were just like, man, shit, we gonna cut the shit now. We ain't gonna wait.
Respect that. I kind of, if they wait for the kids, I respect that.
Yeah. So, but at the same time, though, you know, and that's going into another realm, like the resentment that is built up towards people's children, because that's the only thing that's keeping them in the marriage. And then you have all, you know, excuse my language, you got a lot of fuck shit that goes on in these type of forums and platforms where you got people that are saying, yeah, I want to be a great husband, I want to be a great father, but they don't like paying, like, for example, you know, I see like, or they don't like paying child support, or they're fighting over money and stuff like that. It's like, but if you really love your kids, you want to put them in the best situation to succeed or be better than you, that should be, you know, the furthest thing from your vocabulary is talking about like, or worried about like what your former partner is doing with the money that she's getting from you to support your children, you know, because it's all about ego, you know, power, you know, power is it flows. So, you know, once you give up that power, some people feel like it's a zero sum game, which it is in many cases, where if I give up the power of, you know, breadwinning, for example, for me, I became a house husband for a short time. I'm not a house, technically not all the way, but like I have an unconventional work schedule. So a lot of people would say, I will always joke, I'm like, yeah, if my grandfather could see me now, like I'm washing dishes and vacuuming and cooking and making bento and all that. So some people would say, oh, like, huh?
I got
What'd you say?
after this.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, I'm like, yeah, I got to clean up. Like, I got to go downstairs and wash up and clean up the kitchen and stuff, you know? So like, but some people say you're giving up power because that's the woman's job. And that's one of the ways that we can, you know, we can control her movements and control her mobility and give you the leeway to go out and do whatever you want, like we've always done as men.
Control, man. That's that control. That's where, like,
So it's all about ego, like just being able to control. Like, so like with Derrick Jaxn, people were like talking about like he's controlling, you know. He's just a control freak with his wife. So
yeah,
I don't know.
That's where I feel like Kevin Samuels is feeding that too, like just like saying you a high value man, but what is a high value man? You know,
yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Where's your value derived from?
Yeah, like I have to go through this whole thing. Like my wife makes more money than I make. I'm obviously running a small business, so probably, you know, but you have to get over that. Like you're in a relationship. There were times where I made more money, right? Like not as many times, but there was a small time. But you know, what can you do? And like my wife always says, like when the things that you show to your daughter is the type of man that she will want or go at, you know, like, or if she won't, you know, gets into that kind of relationship, her partner, you know, she that's who she will be looking at. So yeah, so I should be washing dishes, I should be doing clothes, I should be trying to cook, you know. And before I wasn't thinking like that. I was just kind of like, I'm gonna work because that's what I grew up with. But then like I grew up with, you know, that, and then I had to, you know, think like, you know, so I feel like this ideal of relationship when they're just centering one part in the man or the woman, either way, it could be either way. Like there, someone's getting centered in that relationship. That's where I disagree, because you can't have just one person centered, right? Like I don't know if that's not how it's working. That's not how the economy is working. That's not how culture is working. That's not, none of this stuff is working where there's like this, pitchfork and like that picture, the dude with the pitchfork and the lady looking all upset, you know what I'm saying? The unhappy, like
American Gothic.
Yeah, that's not it. The picket fence, like that's over. That's like, it's over. So
It's been gone, man. That for some people that never was the case at all.
So like, why are we still running around that circle? Why are we still trying to do that? And even I think part of that too is like, you don't need a relationship guru. I think they do more. I mean, I think some of the stuff they say is good, but I think it's more harm than good to totally invest yourself. Like these people, there are people out there follow. Well, he said this and she said, and I'm gonna do XYZ because XYZ, when in the background they doing ABC. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if we should follow people.
Everybody needs somebody to look up to. People need somebody to look up to. We all need a hero.
Friends.
We need to be critical of our heroes though. Because I think that, like, especially when we taking the advice and we're trying to apply it to our lives, it doesn't go the way that we want it to. Like, I think that, like, especially because I'm also thinking about like women, like the concept of like, oh, I'm a bad bitch, or I don't need a man, or men are trash, and all those kind of things. It's like, on the one hand, it's like, yes, like you want to be independent, you want to, get yourself together, you want to have, everything. I don't want to say completely planned out, but you want to have control over your life. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to disrespect your partner, but it does mean that like you can weed out those who are not respecting you or what you put forth. But I just think that when it's too, kind of what you're saying, Paul, is like, when it's too one-sided, we ignore the other people, we ignore the other side, we ignore the feelings of the other individuals.
Like, I say men are trash all the time because I'm trash. Like, not like in a negative way, but I've done some wild. I've been wild. You know what I'm saying? I was out there kicking it, and then I had to grow. Even when I became this person who wanted to be like this vision of what I thought, then I had to unlearn that vision because that vision didn't work for my relationship. And so I'm constantly in a state of growth. And I think we have to be in a state of growth as men and women. Understand.
Not growing, you're dying.
What'd you say?
I said, if you ain't growing, you dying.
Yeah, man.
Gotta get busy living.
Being in a relationship is hard. It's work. It's work.
It's
I don't
hard.
think people are like, this is work.
You think relationships are hard, young ladies? Wait till you get married. Like, I was married now. I said I was married now.
Yeah, I was on that. I was really on that. This is my wife. I tell y'all, man, my wife. She was like, "What? Like, you don't own me? Get out of here with that foolishness." Yeah,
no ownership here, man. Ain't nobody. We are our own people, man.
Yeah,
definitely around here, around these parts, ain't no ownership. This ring is just a symbol. Yeah, it's a shield and a symbol. This is my shield against all the people that are trying to come at me. I'm like, no, like.
Dude, no, it's a magnet. Sometimes it's a magnet, especially in the States. It was a magnet.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a shield because, like, they see it. Some people see it and they're like,
oh, okay.
And then
like,
I'm like, block.
People leave me alone more. I don't wear my ring. People leave me alone. I wear a ring.
Well, I find when I take my ring off, people leave me alone more. They're less prone. Like, they're less.
Something wrong with him.
Yeah, like, what you doing around here, old man? And you ain't married. What's wrong with you?
I have a ring on, and they be like, "Hey," I was like, "Here we go."
Talk to the hand.
It's like when I used to work in retail. I used to wear my ring. I'd be in a suit. It's a wrap.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I wasn't married when I was working in sales, man. Like, yeah, but some people tell me they would get a fake ring. They would just put it on, so it would give them the sense that they were more trustworthy and all that, and made people feel more at ease. It's very cynical, very sneaky.
That's where I see Kevin Samuels. He in a suit, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, he in a suit. He got the glasses on. Got the salt and pepper going.
Image. A lot of that has to do with image.
Image is everything.
They saying some stuff, but the image.
Yeah, and I'm always curious to know, like, I mean, not for my just because I'm one of those people that just like know, like, they're probably pulling in a decent amount of revenue, off of this. I think you know, a lot of people are saying, you know, Derrick Jaxn just did this just to publicize a new book, you know, that he has coming out. Because like when I first saw him, like, yeah, he's a dude, like, and he's in his car, like, and he's giving advice, but like we don't know anything about his background, so probably everybody got skeletons in their closet, you know, nobody's infallible. So some of this stuff will ring hollow for those who wholeheartedly believe like that he's following every single thing that he's preaching out there, and those people, you know, they're going to be the marks, you know, one way or another. So, but I would imagine, you know, so the money it must be nice, you know, for them at least, you know, and I think, you know, for me, I'm anti-capitalist again, like put the politics in there. Like, I don't get mad at anybody trying to survive or trying to make money, but like I always have an issue like with exploitative practices, you know, because you could look at it one way. It's like, yeah, you're trying to gain freedom, because if you get a lot of money, you have some modicum of freedom or liberty to do the things that you want to do. And that goes into like relationships too, because somebody asked me this thought exercise. You didn't have to worry about money. So, you know, if you can ask like many Black and brown people, like if you did not have to worry about living check to check or every other check, how differently would you treat your partner? How differently would your relationship blossom or manifest itself if you weren't working, you know, 14 hours out of the day, you know, or you had to work weekends?
Question for the intro. So we ain't have money.
Yeah. Because somebody asked me the other day, it was like, yo, if you didn't have to worry about money, like what is your perfect relationship? What is like the ideal relationship when it comes to, you know, romantic encounters, when it comes to business? You know, if you had that freedom or that liberty of like, you had the levels of like FU money, like you didn't have to worry about like if I'm completely honest and you know, frank with people in any avenue of life, how would you treat them? And then if you can imagine that, if you can visualize that, that's what you should be going for. You know, like you should be shooting for that, or you at least should be making good faith efforts into manifesting that in real life. And I was like, yeah, man, like it would be hard. You know, it's hard to imagine, like, yeah, if I didn't have to, not saying that, I mean, everybody's, you know, in one way or another, you've had to kiss ass, or, you know, you've had to like kind of limit yourself in order to secure, you know, safety or security. But I'm like, yeah, you know, I mean, part of the reason why I'm in Japan is like, you know, I want to be at least more full version of myself, because, you know, if you're in certain spaces, you can't be you, like, because like the situation we were talking about earlier, I think we could say that for another episode, but the words that you say, how you talk, you know, when you're code switching, when you're completely relaxed around people that you actually like, you know, that you actually care about, how does that juxtapose, or how does that compare with when you have to go to work, or when you're dealing with coworkers or people that, you know, like outright, like up front, like they don't like you or they don't care about you, you know, how does it compare? You know, I think for me, I'm like, yeah, that shit is hard, because like I try it every day and I fail often in terms of like how I want, you know, you treat people how you want to be treated, golden rule, yeah. But a lot of times, you know, I've been taught this from my mom and my dad, you know, grand folks, you know, like, yeah, like sometimes you just got to meet people where they are, you know, like not everybody's going to be at the same level of like, you know, self-actualization or like self-love, you know, like if for example, like my house wasn't like a yelling house, it was semi-yelling, like we kind of yelled at each other, like boy, get your ass, you know, like get your ass in here before I, you know, like my mom would do it, she would yell, but like my dad would yell too, but like after a certain degree. And for me, I'm like, I told myself when I had my first biological kid, I have to always check myself not to yell at somebody, because I hate being yelled at. You ain't gonna yell at me, like, because I got yelled at when I was younger, you know, like, because, you know, I'm from the South again, like we be yelling. I'm like, why are you yelling at me? Like, when all you could have just told me in a normal voice, you know, like, this is what you want me to do, or these are your expectations for me. But now you yelling, now I'm mad at you for yelling at me, and now I'm not going to fulfill the expectation you have for me. Now it's a fight, And then we got all this extra stress for no reason, right? Now we mad at each other, we're resentful of each other, and it spills over into other stuff, right? And it's a vicious cycle, right? So I had to like tell myself every day, I gotta like not yell at people. And it's hard because I'm like, yeah, I want to yell at your ass, but I don't want to be yelled at, so I have to do that. I have to try, because ideally in a perfect world, nobody's yelling, or you can raise your voice, but like not yelling like just for the sake of for the sake of yelling, because some people, I think y'all already know, y'all nodding like, yeah, like just be yelling at people and you just be, like, it sounds like you mad, but like, what are you mad about? You don't even know, but it's some other stuff, on the other side of that is like extending grace to people. Because for me, like thinking about my family members and their relationships and why they be yelling and fussing and cussing and fighting each other and stuff. It's like, yeah, there's unsolved or unresolved, trauma there that, again, if you don't talk about it up front, in the beginning, that's the type of stuff that bubbles under the surface, and then it busts out, and you like, why they yelling at each other? Why they fight? Why they mad? It's like, and we don't even know why we're mad anymore. It's like a damn old love song. It's like we don't even understand why we're angry at each other anymore. We're just mad. So it's a difficult thing, for me, and I hope with this whole saga, I'm like, hopefully, yeah, just I'm like, yeah, no, hey, the diaspora, man, yo, that's why I'm like, yo, I'm Pan-African. I'm like, because there's so many things. Like, it's like, yo, you just yelling like my friends from West Africa, friends from the West Indies, Caribbean. It's like, yo, my parents just be yelling. Like, I don't know, man. You just get home, and just yelling. Like, yeah, it's just a fact of life, man. I'm like, I want to break that cycle though, and I'm trying. I'm failing, but I'm trying. Yeah, yeah. I'm just saying. I'm like, yeah, like. Yelling. Why are you yelling? I can't. That's how I talk. I can't stop yelling. That's how I talk. Like, I don't know if y'all got that right. That's Samuel L. Jackson from Dave Chappelle. Like, what? Like, I'm yelling, motherfucker. Like, yeah, I'm yelling. No, y'all over y'all head. I'm sorry.
No. This is a Maurice moment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'll let you get your.
I'm having a moment. No, but what was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought. But yeah, like I think with this whole saga, like with Derrick Jaxn, I mean, obviously people are gonna turn their attention to the next or latest outrage, whatever. There's plenty of things to be mad about, and for me, I'm just like, yeah, this is a good distraction from a lot of the other stuff that's going on in the world right now, because we got a lot more serious stuff to like worry about, like especially if y'all in America. I was like, when I saw y'all pictures, I'm like, yes, like y'all are persevering in the face of like the paninis. We got a lot of bad energy out there, and we need to keep the joy up, because yeah, it's bad out there. Yeah, oh yeah, man. Yo, you remember that article I sent about the Korean fried chicken and how they got it, right? From Black folks, man. See, black joy, man. Like, we just gotta engage more in joy, man. It's beautiful, I was happy to see y'all were out, man. I was like, yeah. I was like,
cool. You've been cooped up so long.
I was like, y'all out there hunting, y'all out there. I was like,
man, I seen people in Puerto Rico and Florida. I'm like, y'all need to go home. What y'all doing in Puerto Rico?
Mask at?
In the middle of a pandemic, ain't no vacations.
Middle of Panasonic.
They like, we in Puerto Rico spreading the corona. Yeah. But cool, man. But I guess any last thoughts? Because we gotta do some editing.
There's a lot of editing. The thing I was gonna say as well, because I was talking to my friend yesterday about this whole Derrick situation and just relationships. I think too, people don't know how to communicate as well. I think going back to the yelling, what you're talking about, Maurice, but also in terms of like expectations and all that stuff, like people don't know how to communicate, or they think they know how, but really they don't. They really don't. And I think that gets to the fact that people are scared of saying their expectations. And one, communication, but also two, like people don't know how to deal with their own emotional traumas or insecurities. I feel like a lot of it is projection. And I'm saying this as somebody who is still trying to deal with all the things that it's still bottled up inside of me. And so I think a lot of people are not aware of when they're projecting, and it's not necessarily the fault of the partner, them projecting on hurt or trauma that they have been through, and they don't know how to communicate, or they expect, especially from men to women, men expect women to be their therapists or be their emotional supports, but they can't do that for women. I feel like there's a lot of that. And I say this too because I see it on my Facebook feed. I think I'm thinking of two Black men specifically who like say all these different things about women, and saying like women are this, women are that, but they also say in the same line, oh, I'm depressed, I have nobody to talk to. And it's like, well, you're not going to find the help that you need by being in a relationship. A lot of them was like, all I need is a hug. No, you need somebody to talk to. You need somebody who can listen to you. And I think that question or that understanding, especially with therapy still being sort of like a stigma in the Black community, is hard. And I think communication in either therapy or working through traumas and insecurities are like, from what I see as like a 23-year-old baby in dating world, I think those are the two things that are breaking at least my generation's relationships, or like the basis of what's breaking the relationships.
Word.
So that's my
Kristen,
final thoughts.
you want to say something? We're gonna wrap it up. At least.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything everyone said. I mean, communication is definitely key for sure. It saves relationships. And even if it doesn't, at least you know like why something went wrong. Or like, I say this because I think I was telling Bernie at one time that sometimes you get into a relationship and things could start off great, but then something dramatic could happen and this person changes into a completely different person. So even though you guys had been dating for 3 years prior, like there's anything that could happen in a marriage that you really can't predict. And so like I always say that like you should try to expect the worst and like try to give it your all either way. And even if it doesn't work out, you still know why. Like that way you're not beating yourself up for like what went wrong, like was it my fault, like did I do something? Like no, like the dude's, I don't know, best friend died and then he became an alcoholic. Okay, like it wasn't your fault. So so yeah, communication is definitely key. And I get as a dude, like when you're young, you want to play games and you want to get the girl, I get that. But I don't know, man. Like as a girl, this emotional fuckery is just like not fun. And I understand it's a game. And yes, girls should be smart or whatever, but they're immature as well. Like everyone's hormones are raging as a teenager and young adult. And there are also some girls that are totally down with just like hooking up and stuff like that. Some people don't view it as spiritual things, but I still feel as though it's your moral responsibility to be honest with that person. Okay. Like if you want to treat it as a game, like you could be honest, but you could say it in a more convincing way. That way she doesn't think you're a complete fuckboy, but you need to be telling the truth, you see. That to me is just moral irresponsibility. And yeah, I don't really care for Sam or that Derrick dude. And I don't really care for not emotional, they're relationship gurus and gurus in general. I think, and I'm gonna wrap it up. I think that you're responsible for seeking out professional help if you don't know what a good relationship is supposed to look like and seeking the knowledge. Don't rely on one person because that's just one facet. So yeah, everyone made awesome points.
Cool. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. This is the end. I like that one. That's a good conversation. And like we have a lot to talk about next time. Okay, that's it.
All right, y'all stay strong.
Yeah, I'm just gonna edit at
Stay
there.
black, stay sweet.
Nigga, don't believe me, just watch. I'm trying to turn on the Legend of Korra, which is a great series, by the way, if y'all have never seen it.
Legend of Korra. Oh, that's a conversation. Legend of Korra versus the first Avatar.
The relationship there is crazy too. Okay. Legend of Korra.
I'm good.
All right, y'all. I'm out.
Oh yeah, you gotta go.
See y'all later. Thank you.
Bye, y'all.